We've talked about the introduction of a presentation, but also equally important is the conclusion. And the conclusion can be pretty challenging. Sometimes you don't know exactly what to say, or you come to the end of your presentation and you just stop. We've seen that presentation. Sometimes people will just start talking and it can seem very jarring that they just suddenly stopped speaking. So today I want to talk about some elements that you should include in a conclusion. And these elements are: one, you should signal the end of your speech. You should reinforce and summarize the central idea or the main point that you're trying to make. You need a good ending statement that really gets the attention of the audience and helps them remember you. This is also the time for an appeal or a challenge, something you want the audience to take away or something you want them to do. And as always, don't forget to thank your audience and give them an opportunity to ask you questions. So, reasons to signal the end of your presentation. The main reason for signaling the end of a presentation is basically to wake everybody up. So if you have lost your focus or you've gotten caught up in the points that you were making, this signal to the end can refocus you and help you think about the main point, the overall central idea that you're trying to make. And likewise for your audience, they may have lost their mind and thought. They may be started thinking about something else. But if you tell them you're coming to the end of your presentation, they'll refocus on you and listen to those important points that you're trying to make. And also, this defining your conclusion, it gives structure to your presentation. It reminds the audience of what they're paying attention to, and it just helps everything tie together in a nice closing circle. So you started with your introduction, you gave your main points. Now you're ending nicely with that defined conclusion. And as always, you need to have a good transition to signal the ending of your presentation. It's very easy to say in conclusion, but that can be a little boring. So maybe you want to try to be more inventive with your language. I've given you some phrases here that you could use. This brings me to the end of my presentation. As we come to the end of our presentation, let me briefly summarize my main points. What you should take away from this is, or a simple one, finally, I'd like to say. And this is where you re-summarize the main points that you made. And so you're going to restate your thesis, and you may review the main ideas that you have already spoken about. One thing, a note about language is, now they've listened to your presentation. You have already told them the main points, so now you can change your language from the present to a past form. So we're talking about something they've just heard. It's now in the past, so speaking about it in the past is appropriate. Another important element is that ending statement. So just as the hook got the attention of your audience, that ending statement is something for them to remember you by. A way to do an ending statement, if in the beginning of your presentation you told an anecdote, you could always finish that anecdote. If you left your audience hanging so that they have to hear the ending later, this would be when you could bring that up. You can use humor if it's appropriate. Any kind of statement that you think is a clincher that's going to make people really remember what you have to say, drive that point home. So it's going to take some time to think of the perfect statement that you want to make at the ending, but the time spent in that is well worth it. We've said that people remember the beginning and the ending of what they're listening to, and so the statement is really going to be the thing that they remember from your presentation. The ending of your presentation, the conclusion, is also the time to ask your audience to do something. So if you have an appeal, something that you want from them. So maybe your presentation was in an attempt to get people to vote for something. You can end by asking them to do it. Maybe it's just something you want them to now believe. Actually asking them for the action or the thought that you want them to take away. This is where you do that. And don't forget to give your audience a chance to ask questions. So truly asking them, do you have any questions, is appropriate here. And finally, don't forget to thank your audience. They've spent their time paying attention to you. It's very polite to say thank you at the end. And I will also end with a thank you. So thank you for watching.